This should be an interesting one. I've got a discussion with artist and technologist Todd Cruz coming through for you today. This is Mr. Ben's ADD Experience Live. And normally on Thursdays, I do this thoughtful Thursday where I'm all, woo woo, swami looking, whatever, floating in the skies. But this week, I'm going to have a discussion. My weekly discussion falls on Thursday. So we're going to have Todd Cruz on talking about some thoughtful things. So, I don't want to waste too much time here. We'll go ahead and get him pulled up and get this thing started because you've got places to be. We've got places to be. The world's moving quickly and things need to happen, right? Let's go. If you have any questions, be sure to go ahead and drop them down below. We will definitely get to that. Oh, hello, Todd. Here we go. I was about to say we're 90 degrees off.
And now we're good. Let me see if I can put this in a. It's going to try and put it in landscape mode, but apparently that doesn't work very well.
No, it doesn't. They used to Facebook/Instagram used to try the widescreen thing out. I know there have been a couple lives that do that with internal Facebook technology, but it seems they've kind of dropped that now. Everybody's vertical. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
well,
Yeah.
welcome to the experience. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you for inviting me. I looked at some of your other videos, and I'm honored to be part of that group. It looks like you've had a lot of good guests, interesting people.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got to surround myself with interesting people, and just having these discussions. I'm kind of used to having them relatively regularly. Just one on one talking with people, and I think that's where part of this came from. Just having these discussions. Pandemic happens, and I want to keep in contact with people and keep having these discussions. One thing
Yeah.
leads to another. Instagram Live.
And I've seen you've sort of branded it all like you've got your certain look, and you're putting them on YouTube and everything.
Hmm.
That's great. I was doing something similar at the beginning of the year. I was interviewing creative people, and I got about 13 of them done, and I put them on YouTube on my wife's website on my or her YouTube page.
Okay. We'll have a link to that.
They were only about like 5 to 8 minutes long, but I was looking for creative people that have a passion for creating something, and I was trying to understand why did they do it. So
Uh, do you still have that curiosity?
yeah, sure. I want to do more. Yeah, I just got caught up with work and everything.
So
Absolutely.
okay, so I do want to ask you about that a little more. First off, um, we met. Uh, from my point of view, I was doing the Bixby art in Bixby Park.
Yeah.
It's a little art fair out in the park. People come by, check out your art, and just talk to you. It's a little fun little art showcase, and I saw you and your wife there.
Right.
Um, Crazy, just a crazy. I can't describe your art. You guys really have to go look it up. But I saw a crazy energy, nice vibe. I didn't mean like a crazy, like you don't know what you're doing type of vibe. Um, but it just really got me. I was like, wow, these colors, they're going all these different places. You had a wide variety of looks, but
Yeah.
you also definitely had a certain style. Like I looked at all of them and said, no, this is coming from the same person. Almost. I almost thought it was all coming from the same person because I saw two kind of blocks of styles, and I actually thought one was your wife's.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. She was there to help me. She's into music and video editing, but she doesn't do art per se. So we just took that day to try and see if we could, go out and meet people and sell some art. And that's pretty cool event they had at Bixby Park. I think that was around 2019, probably, or maybe 2018. It was a year or so before the pandemic. Um, so we just set up a tent, and then I don't remember if I sold anything out there, but it was cool to meet people, you know.
Right.
Um, yeah, but I do have like a lot of different styles. I've painted for a long time, and I always thought that I should hone in on one particular style, but I'm just kind of all over the place.
So what got you into painting? Because as I understand, I called you a technologist when I wrote your name out. I don't know if that applies or you think that
Yeah.
fits, but how did you get into that? And then yeah, how did you get into
Well,
that? And then how did it move you into art?
well, you know, I'm mostly just like self-trained in art, and it's a hobby for me. It's not a career.
Okay.
I I wish I could make it a career, you know, and I was talking about it as my plan B career or my second career, but I do spend a lot of time at it, right? So, um, I just, I just started drawing as a kid, and my dad was doing a little bit of painting, and my grandfather was always commenting on my drawings from grade school, and it just kind of, energized me to keep going. So I took art in high school instead of, as those elective classes, you could take band or art or
Yeah.
something like that. So I took art, and that was kind of the only training I had. And then I just kept following up and doing it. I just kept going with it. I mean, I went to the military, into the army for 9 years. So I was in
Mhm.
the army infantry, and there's no time really to do art. So it was just a good sort of side thing to do, relaxing and, meditate. Just, I don't know, it calms you, and it's just fun to do. Right. So, um, I did that, and then I got out of the army, and, after 9 years, and then
Oh
went
wow.
to,
Okay.
went to business school, for marketing and strategy for an MBA. And then, I did join technology or high tech as a career. So I guess you could say I'm a technologist.
Mhm.
Um, I joined Compact Computer in Houston in, I guess that was 99. And then Compact got bought by HP in 2001. So I was with that company for like, no, I think 13 years or so.
Okay. I
And,
remember I remember that time because I was just starting in the video game industry
mm,
and I met um Bobby, I believe his name was Bobby Hewlett. And we were sitting around joking, just one day. And I was like, I wasn't sure. And this was kind of one of those fishing jokes because you're kind of
yeah.
trying to see what they're about. And I was like, somebody come over here and find this guy a Packard. He needs to pair up with somebody who knows what they're doing. I was just joking with him, right? And we all kind of laughed. And somehow that little joke led to me figuring out that yes, he was in the Hewlett Packard family, but he didn't want to deal with Hewlett Packard, so he ended up in video games.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that just got me thinking about that time
Yeah.
in tech and the crazy things that were going on, just the movement of the industry, basically. Um, and during that time, you say were you still into art around that time?
Yeah. I mean, off and on. I mean, I
Mhm.
would do, you know, um, paintings, and on the weekends, or at night, I would get the creative urge, and I'd put 2 or 3 hours in, maybe on a weeknight, or,
Mm.
here and there. But then on the weekends, I would, you know, put in a lot of time. So I'm still doing that. I mean, I
Mhm.
make it it's kind of a habit, right? So, um, when you get that creative, whatever it is,
Spark,
spark, or you get into it, right?
right?
And you start dreaming about what to make. And I got to the point where, um, if I didn't make something, if I didn't make a good painting in a weekend or within a week, I felt like I was accomplishing anything. I had to make a painting every weekend that I liked,
Mhm.
or at least got started through it and got it to the point where I was pleased with it. So that usually meant, like 6 or 8 hours of work on the weekend. So,
Right. And you say you said you kind of started that during high school when it kept going and led into this. I don't know. You mentioned it was relaxing.
Yeah,
Do you need it at this point? I mean, like just to you're doing one type of thinking. Is this your you know meditative process, or what is it to you exactly?
it gives me gratification, or it it makes me feel like I'm getting something done that I really want to do. Right. So I joke about maybe, a lot of guys my age are probably out golfing or fishing, right? And it's the same thing, you
Right.
feel it's just something that you like to do. So I feel like I'm creating a portfolio of things that I'm sort of proud of. And I do like to get feedback on it, of course. But I've always kind of thought like, this when I die, this stuff will be around. And this is sort of my way to like live on, not live on into the future, but maybe somebody will know who I am in 100 years or something.
Mhm.
And I don't expect to be famous or anything like that, but it's just kind of cool to create something that I think that might be on somebody's wall in 100 years, assuming it lasts that long. um, because the canvas and everything,
Mhm.
not all that durable, right? But I just kind of, I don't know, it just drives me. It's just something that I'm into, right?
Yeah. That reason I ask is everybody seems to have some reason for doing it, and for me, it was just an expression. I felt I was kind of in maybe a similar situation as you, but I went into technology. A lot of that was because computers were a good field to be in. And that was just,
Yeah,
well, this is kind of easy to me. It comes natural. I'm really into computers tech, taking apart my computer or whatever. And I like that. But it's still, I came from a creative family. So I always wanted to kind of build on that somehow. And yeah, that over time, I was like, I have these things I need to express. I don't know how to express them. And talking with my dad for long enough, I ended up making paintings at some point. It's just like, well, my dad paints. Okay, let me just go to the art store and pick up some paintbrushes or whatever and just start into what my dad instilled in me from like, a
yeah,
kid. And it became a thing.
yeah,
And I don't necessarily know how to explain it,
yeah,
but yeah, it's just my well, it was, now it's my thing.
yeah,
But it was just a way to ease my mind. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. It's kind of a therapy, baby.
Yes, yes.
It is a way to get out like strong emotions, right? So I feel it too. Like I have something I want to say, and I've gone through, various events in my life like everybody has that are, traumatic or whatever. And I want to somehow put that out there for people to understand maybe, or express my thoughts on it, right? So
So do you present your feelings directly into your art or as an escape almost? Do you know what I mean? There's kind of a
yeah,
difference between I'm putting what I feel into my art or I'm using my art to not necessarily deal with these things.
kind of both. I mean, I've,
Okay.
I've done both, right? So I remember the one of the hardest paintings I ever did was like on a Christmas Eve. And, we had like two or three kids at the time. I got three kids, but they were younger, and we were in debt a lot, and we really didn't have much money to pay bills and buy gifts and everything. I just felt like I felt like really, upset about that, like really angry at myself. Like I wasn't celebrating their making a really good Christmas for them, or memorable, you know, um, and I just woke up on Christmas Eve, or I was up all night long. Like I was just so mad and angry, and just that strong emotion. Why am I in so much in debt? Why can't I get my life together? And then I just painted, I put all my emotions out onto the canvas in sort of an abstract, um, painting. And, even now it's kind of hard for me to look at because it just brings up all those emotions. But, um, but then there's been other times when I'll see an old an old photograph or something that to me has, it may be really hard to look at because it's portraying some strong emotion or some event that was just so traumatic, right? So like I took, in World War II, there were these partisans that fought against the Nazis, right? And sometimes they got caught, then they got tortured, and they had to decide whether to give up their comrades' names or or just face execution, right? And
Hmm.
some of these brave people went straight to execution because they were not going to, that just takes a lot of courage, right? And then there's some photos of these people that just before they get executed or after their execution to me that are just, they're so strong images and I just can't imagine, right? And so I painted those to try and tell the story, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
No,
kind of
I'm,
deep,
I'm,
but
I'm following you here, and it should. A lot of art is deeper than we give it credit for, and I appreciate that you put it in the art because looking at your work, there's definitely you have a lot of political characters, and I did want to actually touch on that. So um, this is you're touching people in a certain way whenever you do a portrait and putting them into your art. I mean, it says something. So did you ever like think you were making political art, or you just bringing up topics? How does
no, I mean, I always thought it more of historical, right?
Okay.
Right. So, like I've got the images of, I've got portraits of Harriet Tubman and some of the historical figures from the Civil War. Um, and I just thought that, some people aren't well known enough, right? And so if I paint their portrait, it'll create conversation and younger people will learn more about who this person is. And, you know, like, I just I sort of got into this space where I wanted to paint portraits
Hmm.
and I'm like, who am I going to paint? Like, I mean, I painted my kids a little bit and I could go online and just find a face or something. But I'm like, if I'm going to put in the time to make a portrait or something, I'm going to do it with somebody that I respect. Or so I also found like people that were like nobody knows about that did heroic things, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell their story. So I just I like search their name and then I read up on their story. And if I think their story is interesting enough, then and then if I find a really interesting portrait of them, then I'll paint it.
So that gives you a I know that gives you a connection to that person that you're painting, doesn't it? I mean, in a certain way, right? Because you're actually going through the
Yeah.
process of reimagining them. So how does that
Yeah.
feel to you when you're doing that?
Oh, I mean, it's cool because then, I learn more about the person that I didn't know so much about, and I'm able to tell that story a little bit. Um, so like, yeah, I'm into, like I said at the beginning here, I'm into the stories that people have where they're passionate about something, or I'm into stories about heroic events and military events. Cause I was in the army and I went to the Desert Storm in Iraq. 3 days of combat. So that was sort of a traumatic event that sort of stayed with
Yeah.
me. And I painted a few impressions of that.
Okay.
So
So those are characters. Now, the way you portray them, and as I said, I didn't know a way to describe it, but you've got this very loose style um that I've seen in a lot of your more recent ones, that the digital ones, where
yeah,
you've got this kind of almost crayon like scribbling. When you look at it close up, it looks like crayon like scribbling,
yeah.
but when you zoom out, it's more of a flowing soft piece as opposed to the wilder abstract when you look at it close up. I thought that was really brilliant. How did that come about?
Honestly, the reason those exist is because I don't know how to use Procreate. I don't know
Okay.
how to use the digital tool, and all I could think of was take the photograph and put it on the screen, and then
Hmm.
start just painting on top. And I guess I just thought that just doing lines and just it was it was therapeutic in itself, right? Like just
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
like a lot of my work, has like little tiny dots and squares and circles,
Hmm.
and it could take hours and hours to complete something like that. But I just got, like I get this OCD thing where it is therapeutic. I just keep filling the canvas slowly and slowly. And I and that's kind of the scribble thing too. Like I was just first of all, I thought I wanted to see what it looked like if I just scribble.
Hmm.
And then second of all, again, it's just kind of trying to learn Procreate because I really don't know how to use digital tools very well at all. I don't know anything about
So was
it.
Procreate, which is relatively recent, recent piece of software, um, as far as I know. Was that like your first jump into digital art?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I dabbled in the past with various tools and stuff like that, but my daughter bought it for herself and she recommended, she said, everybody's using Procreate now. You should check it out. And it only costs like $10. So we did that and we got an Apple pencil and then an iPad. I was using that, just a little iPad.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I got into that like earlier, I guess the beginning of this year when I was all into learning about NFTs. I wanted to get involved in digital art, create NFTs. Right. So I said, first of all, I was thinking, is there a place for physical art in the NFT world? And if the answer is yes, then what do I need to do? How do I make that happen? But I knew there was a place like digital. It was all about digital. So what? Okay, maybe I
Eh,
can learn how to do digital.
Okay. So there's this, um, people have been hearing the buzz about NFTs. Well, it stands for non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
They've probably heard about how these artists like Beeple,
Yeah.
and people who aren't really artists but are just in the technology space, like the crypto punks guys, making all these millions. And what attracted you to this the whole NFT idea?
Okay. So I was getting really tired. Excuse me. I was getting really tired of Facebook, right?
Okay.
And I was sort of looking around for other ways to connect with the world. And somebody recommended Clubhouse, the social
Yeah.
audio Clubhouse. And so I tried it out and I thought it was the coolest thing because I find on Facebook, people can't, when you type something in, you really don't know what the person means. It's so easy to misunderstand what they're saying. And it
Yeah.
takes a long time to like type something out. So I thought that the Clubhouse, where it's just like rooms that you go into, like audio rooms or audio conference calls, basically, and they're on special subjects. And there could be, like for anywhere from two people in a room to thousands, right? And they have moderators, and it's usually a really cool conversation. Um, and that's where I first heard about NFT because I started joining these clubs that were artist or art related clubs. Everybody was talking about NFTs, and that's about the same. It was just starting to take off, and that was like probably like November of last year. That's when it was really getting underway. I mean, I know it's been going on for a few years,
Hmm.
but it just really took off this year. And so I just started looking into it and talking to people, learning. And even today on Clubhouse, there's like, they're constantly 24 hours a day. There's rooms about NFTs.
Yeah.
How to,
It's a scene. It's a scene. Yeah.
yeah, it's a definite community. Um, and then you start hearing about people making all kinds of money. Of course, that was attractive. Like, yeah, maybe I could do that because I'm not selling any physical paintings. Nobody's buying my physical paintings.
Yeah.
So,
So so during the now that we're in kind of a pandemic, are you thinking about physical paintings at all? I know I've had a problem with wanting to sit down and create a physical painting, and then no one gets to see the details and the thing I do for the physical paintings. So
yeah.
I've lost a lot of unfortunately, I feel I lost a lot of love for the traditional paintings. But it's sparked new creativity. But
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense or if you
Well,
felt that way
no,
at all.
yeah. I mean, so what happened to me was I finally did publish or mint two NFTs, those little digital things that I was making. Um, Portraits. I did a portrait of Ulysses S. Grant, and then I have a painting of Willem de Kooning, the artist.
Mm.
It's a big oil portrait, and I when I minted it or put it out on the blockchain for sale, I created a digital version, which where I just took a high resolution photo of it, and then using Procreate, I zoomed in on the image, and I wrote in a lot of times with my finger because we didn't have an Apple Pencil at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just digitally writing in. Uh, I took like 100 different quotes or words or sayings from de Kooning, words that are important in his life, and I embedded them by just writing them in a really super zoomed up, like really tiny into the digital image. So that's what I advertised. I said, I've got a digital portrait of de Kooning that I created, and if you buy this NFT, you can zoom in and see all this other information. And then I
yeah,
said, I'm gonna, as part of the NFT, I'll also, if you want it, I will include the paint. 'Cause I wasn't going to give the painting away if they just wanted the digital piece.
right, right,
But the price I set was big enough that I was willing to give the painting away. So I think I set it at first at like zero point 0.5 Ethereum,
right.
which was probably $800 or $900.
Hmm.
And now I think Ethereum is, rather than 1,600 for one Ethereum, I think it's around 3,500 or something.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so anyway, I haven't checked the NFT for a long time to see if
Mm.
anybody even looked at it. And I have like 13 views in the last, 5 months, and nobody's made an offer. And I'm like, I know what I did wrong, right, with NFTs, but I just kind of said, this is kind of a waste of time for me. I'm not making any progress.
Yeah,
And it's really distracting from what I really want to do, which is the physical paintings. So I just went back into physical paintings and ignored
yeah.
digital stuff.
So one thing I'll say about the digital stuff is that it requires a lot of marketing. Um,
Yeah.
there's a whole marketing promotion, and you were like talking about Clubhouse, how it's a whole scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've been getting into that scene quite a bit for the past. I mean, I've been doing it since like 2012 ish. I've just been kind of looking at branding, sales, and marketing.
Mm.
Um, Branding for the most part, but sales and marketing I definitely kicked up in the past 3 years. I've just really been like, okay, this is how that works. Oh, this is why, this person is connecting with users in a way. And it really did, like, as you said, surprise me how much of a mental shift it takes away from your creativity.
Right.
I mean, the sit home and create a painting kind of creativity. I mean,
Everything takes time, right? And you have to figure out what you want to spend your time on. And for me, because, I basically have my weekends, and when I paint on the weekends, it's taking away from family time too. So I really got to, like be efficient with my time. And so I have to weigh, like, do I want to do marketing on Instagram? Do I want to, go set up my tent somewhere at a fair, and that takes a
mhm,
lot of effort, right?
yeah,
And typically, I don't know how you do those things, but I'm not selling anything hardly ever. Or am I just good? Should I just really keep painting, which is what I really like to do, and get better at it? So I have this feeling like if it's meant to be, if it's meant to be that I'm going to sell stuff at a high price, it first requires me to get good at it. And the only way I can get good at it is put a lot of effort into the paint. Right.
right.
So I'm like, so that's why I've got like 200 paintings all around my house. My wife's saying, get rid of them, do something with them, find a storage area for them. So,
Yeah, it's really hard. But it's like what I've started doing is going in these. I'm trying to get better at this, where I'm going in these creative chunks and these marketing branding kind of chunks. So I'll create some things and then kind of keep recycling them and showing people them. It's like, hey, I've done the creative thing. Here's this. Here's that. And I kind of keep recycling that content, for lack of a better term, where I'll just talk about what I've already done and
Mm.
present it in different ways
Yeah.
or show people behind the scenes and do that as part of my marketing thing. So while I'm setting up the marketing, I'm like, okay, let me create a look. Let me go talk to people, find out what they like. And there's that marketing thing going on. And so it's basically spinning plates, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm in a creative mode and I'm spinning that plate as fast as I can, where I'm just pumping out stuff and all these ideas are coming. And then it's kind of on autopilot. Like if somebody asked me to make a certain type of artwork, I can stop, get into that systematic mode and be like, okay, boom, boom, 16 by 16 inches. That means this many pixels this way, blah, blah, blah. And that's a process that I've already gone through. And that
Yeah.
plate's kind of spinning, so I can just let it go. And
No, that's great.
and then the same thing for the marketing side. Like if I know that every day around anywhere from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I'm going to jump on Instagram live. I don't even think about it anymore. And that plate's already kind of spinning. I just have a series of notes here in my little notebook, actually over here. I actually do have the notebook, it's just, I just make these little notes like every day and I can go
Yeah.
back and anytime I sit down, I just flip through. And it's like, oh, that's something I want to talk about and jump into that one. So that's kind of on.
Well, that's good. I mean, that shows your discipline. And I probably need to be a little bit more disciplined like that. I did, I wouldn't say that I'm completely ignoring the aspect of trying to get my art out there and show it and sell it. So, I did finally start about a year ago. I started like taking Instagram serious and, made my Instagram page all about art. And I realized my paintings are so dense that if I posted the whole painting on a little image on a phone, people, you can't really see much of it.
Yeah.
They're not going to zoom in on it. So I started taking like close up macro shots of some areas and posting those, but posting them often.
So,
But I wasn't making progress on like nobody. So I get a bunch of likes on Instagram. So what? I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
maybe I got to take it this next step. But then I finally did, I reached out and like I started contacting or going to galleries and I finally did get some paintings in a local gallery here. I mean, it's just a cooperative
Hmm.
down in Redlands. So there, I mean, it's a club, like so. And then there's a bookstore down in Long Beach that likes my art, and they have about a dozen paintings in their bookstore. So,
Oh, nice. Okay.
but still, I mean, I'm not selling much. Well, here now and then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's like one of those opportunities where, you've got art in the bookstore, take a bunch of pictures. Um, and, you don't
Mm.
release all the pictures at once with Instagram. You just take a bunch of pictures, you beside the art, some people looking at the art, et cetera, et cetera. And then you just kind of drip those out over time, like as you need content. And then one thing I found that's interesting that I don't see too many people talking about, but after you make a post and you've got like 25, 30 likes or whatever, you just go through every one of those people that liked your page. I mean, like that photo and jump on their page, go in their comment section, hey, da da da, da," and they'll remember you because or they should remember you because they just liked your art. So I got in the habit of doing that, and that brought my engagement way up. Where
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
good.
and after time, it's like the whole trying to get into a gallery thing. It's like at some point they're going to look at your Instagram now. That's just a thing where it's like, let me see your Instagram, and right away, you can show them, well, hey, I have this and that, and look at these likes and comments, and
Yeah.
that's the marketing game once again coming back because you're trying to literally get yourself out into the art market or the art fair market, farmers market
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
cases.
I'm making small baby step progress on that
Mm.
kind of stuff. And there's TikTok, I experimented with posting a few TikTok videos and trying to
Yeah.
see what that meant. Like, and I've heard good things about that, but I don't know if it actually brings in buyers or, if it's just about, all about getting attention.
Yeah, it's TikTok is definitely a different game. You can get a lot of attention. Um, but what people don't tell you is that you really need a lot of it takes more work than people would assume.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of mindset and a different type of work. So I do like what you've done there though with the, showing a piece and then you're actually zooming in and zooming out. But I know she didn't put any of those on Facebook.
Yeah.
In Instagram, I'm sorry.
Oh, Instagram. No, I mean, I mean, I don't really post videos on Instagram, but
Mm.
most of those abstract images on Instagram are zoomed up small versions of a larger painting because the paintings themselves are too dense for a small picture.
All right.
It seems like, you know, um, but yeah, I mean,
Well, you could even do like a series of shots, right?
yeah,
Do the zoomed in and then slightly zoomed in, and so forth until you're back out at full size, or do the reverse where it's, the full size and you zoom in. So
yeah, I guess, I could be a little bit more creative on how I get stuff out there. Um, just trying to navigate, like what do I need to do to, I guess I'm a little jaded, I've been painting all these years and like, uh,
does it feel like an obligation that you don't want to do? Like, you don't want to mow the lawn or whatever, like a chore almost.
well, I mean, if it's nothing at the end of it, like going to these fairs, like the art in the Bixby Park, that takes a whole Saturday, and it's by the end of the day, you're exhausted from moving all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and if you don't get a sale, it's why do it again, right? That's
Hmm.
how I feel. Um, and it was kind of like the way with the NFT stuff, where the community stuff is like I was told. I actually did. I had a consultant like give me some advice. He's an NFT collector, and he was giving like 30-minute sessions where he would look at your art, give you ideas. And he told me that, if you want to get in this space, just make sure you're on Twitter, follow a lot of these people that are creating and follow the collectors and comment on their stuff and get to know them and they'll get to know you. And I did that, and I was just, pretty interested anyway in the art.
Yeah.
Uh, so I would comment, this is a great piece or whatever, but it never led to anything like,
Sounds like the real art world.
uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Then there was this Discord community. You have to join Discord. And
Right.
I was having problems with an old account. I couldn't open up Discord again. And I had to, just all kinds of technical problems. So I never joined Discord. And apparently that's where a lot of the action is, or if you want to join the community, that's how you get there and get to know people. And I found out like, and you can see it on Clubhouse, right? Like when there's a drop, a big publish of digital art for sale as an NFT. It's called a drop, and everybody, there's just a lot of buzz and a lot of hype, and they're all helping each other out, and they're all like, "I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy that," or there's collaborations going on, right?
Mm.
Uh, but I would just wasn't making any headway at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm obviously doing something wrong, or I'm just maybe it just seemed like you have to dive into it and really put a lot of effort into it. And I wasn't willing to put that much effort into it because it was so distracting from everything else I was trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of I mean, you're definitely not alone in that aspect. And that's kind of one of the reasons I haven't jumped in fully to it. I've for as much as I've researched and been around the NFT space, it's like I feel like I'm that person that goes to all the art shows and talks to all the artists and watches Bob Ross all day in the NFT world, right? But but I don't actually get involved. I feel like I'm that person. I don't know if you've ever been to an art show. They come around and talk to you, and yeah, I really like this piece, and I saw this guy last week, and they never buy or never put out any art themselves. That's me in the NFT space, just because of that investment that it's going to take. And I think in 2022, I have a project that I'm going to get rolling, provided this podcast and my website get rolling like the way I wanted to. But so you're not alone there. You're definitely not alone in that aspect.
I think your art, it would do great as NFTs. That's what people are loving to buy, like digital images that are, I don't know. I mean, you just got that kind of art that has that look that people are buying, right? Um, they're creating all these series of characters, right? There was one drop today. I did a little bit of reading up today on NFT, and there was today there was a drop of like 8,888 characters that are like what do you call it? Like figurines of anime fighters and that type of stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it. 8,888 of them
Mhm.
sale by one group of artists. And imagine, how different are some of these? They've got to just like they make one little tweak. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
publishing. They make another little tweak, but they become collectible, right? And they had so much interest in this. There was like in 24 hours, they had over 100,000 people join their Discord, showing interest, and they were getting ready to buy. And it's crazy what's going on. I mean,
So, do you are you one of the people that really I don't want to say gets it because I know you get it, but does a lot of it seem goofy to you or
it does seem what seems goofy to me is that people are just whipping out sketches, and those sketches become collectible. Like like I don't see a lot of talent in the sketch, but because they make a collection of these sketches like frogs or apes or whatever, they're just drawing the same sort of character and putting a hat on or putting a beard on or something. All these little sketches, they create a collection, and then that becomes collectible regardless of the quality of the art. And then everybody displays that as look at which one I got, look at which frog I got.
yeah,
And and it just seems like kind of silly to me in a sense of like why are you getting so excited about this piece you bought?
right, right,
Like I guess that's kind of like coin collecting or stamp collecting, right? But
sure,
it's different, right? I guess as an artist, when you're putting so much time into work and you see like some of this other stuff just that looks like it took them like 20 minutes to, just draw up
right.
and then they're able to sell it for hundreds of dollars. It kind of jades me, right? I kind of get like, what am I getting too old or what?
You know what? There's this weird space of um and no, I definitely think it's overblown by the way. But there's this weird space of people getting into or latching on to an interesting concept or idea and it just becomes the thing to talk about. Like there used to be this Google art page. I don't know where it's at now, but
Mm.
it was actually promoted by Google. It was like Google forward thinking art, something, whatever. And they would always showcase all these projects, and a lot of them were from people within Google or attached to Google somehow. They had done Google Talks, etc. But basically, there were all these interesting concepts like, can we have an AI select different pictures and create a new piece of artwork out of that, and then it gets automatically printed up. We've got 50 of these prints. Go buy now. And it's like there's this buzz, but then it has no um, classic artistic,
No.
you know, balance to it. Like there's no story behind the artist. And I think for what you and I are talking about with when we create art, there's a story behind the art and the artist. And it's harder to get that with like a collectible that's based on a concept like, hey, we had 256 colors and we decided to turn each of these colors into a series. And now we've got this, 256 print series. That's interesting, but it's not like the classic art story. And I think a lot of that starts to fall away over time, where it's interesting and cute right now, but no one's going to care.
Yeah, I think this NFT market is probably a bubble in a lot of ways, right?
Hmm.
I think it's going to turn out for some people like the Beanie Babies did, like,
Hmm.
so collectible, and then all of a sudden they were, worth nothing. Um,
Yeah.
but it's self-perpetuating right now. People are, there's I think what happened, right, is people made a lot of money on Bitcoin. And those were naturally the people that already knew about the space or about digital NFTs. They were the early adopters anyway. So they had
Yeah.
all this money. And then COVID came along also, and people weren't spending money on going out and traveling, and they were just like sitting at home and like, well, what am I going to buy? And it just is like perpetuating, like a lot of the artists are the collectors, and it's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're helping each other out. They're spending tons
Yeah.
of money. But then it also pulled in a lot of the rich collectors that want to get in on the game,
Yeah.
like the gold rush. So,
Well, now that's the thing, right? I mean, you've got like the high end people making their Twitter and
so
Instagram profile images an NFT. And when you go to their profile, you click on it, there's a link to click on it, it takes you to the actual NFT. So you can actually kind of flex that way where it's like, hey, look, I just bought this. It's worth however many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions in a lot of cases. So that's kind of weird to me because like who buys a painting and then goes and puts it out and says, look how much I spent on this. That's going to represent me. It's interesting and weird.
yeah, I mean, I do believe in the NFT concept. I don't think it's a, I believe in what it gives or what it creates, which is, provenance and scarcity and collectability and royalties, you know, uh, it's a great thing, but it's also kind of like there's so much flaky stuff going on right now. And it's a tight knit community that's, at least it seems that like
Right.
hard for me to penetrate and try to figure out what's going on and be part of it.
So what would you like to see them become?
I would like to see it become a marketplace for everyone to understand, like eBay. Like you don't have to join Discord and join Twitter and join Clubhouse and get to know everybody. And where it would just be like, well, and it'll evolve over time. I'm sure it'll get there where it's just easier to understand, easier to post things, um, easier to market maybe, or people will understand it more as a marketplace and just go there to buy. Because I think it's still for early adopters, right? It's still like most people don't know what this NFT stuff is.
Right.
So it'll get there, and the people are putting NFTs on collectible things anyway, like sports cars and, you know, anything valuable. They're starting to attach NFTs to just for certificate of authenticity and provenance, right?
Right. Right. There's that type of connectivity. Beeple does that in a lot of ways where he's got um, that's the $69 million
Yeah.
uh,
I,
guy who creates artworks every day guy. He actually has physical versions that he sends out where you've got it's like a glass, it's like a
yeah.
glass casing, and then there's the image of the NFT in there. It's got the QR code at the bottom of it, and it
Yeah.
attaches to, I want to say, USB or something somehow.
Yeah.
But it's a whole packaging, processing, presentation, physical art thing
It's
that goes along with these NFTs. And I think
it's
that's a really good way to do it. Uh, and I could totally foresee, groups coming around like you have framers now. You take your art to a frame shop and it gets framed and presented nicely. I could totally see frame shops and um, you know people who present art in a certain way becoming these places that, hey, you make an NFT, we'll attach all this stuff to it,
yeah.
to your physical art. So you have the NFT as the certificate basically of authenticity and the physical artwork. And it's all going to be a connected thing. So I see that coming around sometime.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ideas and innovations, and people are being so creative about how to publish NFTs and what you get. Some of them are games, and some of them are characters that come to life. Or you know, when you buy an NFT, you're unlocking some other digital part of the puzzle, or making it interesting. And yeah, people, I've seen his packages, and they're like amazingly professionally looking. Like you feel it, really, really feel like you're like getting something from a boutique, shop in Paris, like something really high end, right? And I don't disparage his work. I mean, he deserves what he gets, because he was out there for years publishing a piece of digital art every day.
13
Right.
years.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, he deserves it. But a lot of this other stuff going on is just interesting.
No, totally. Um, so speaking of like NFTs and technology, another thing you're interested in is 3D printing.
Mm.
So, um, how much of that have you done, or how you're into it? You're researching and looking at it.
Well, so I actually I don't know much about 3D printing itself. I work for a printer company, Epson,
Mhm.
and I study. My role is the future of printing, and looking at how printers will evolve, and making a business case for the printers that are coming out, the consumer printers that'll come out in the next 4 or 5 years. And I do have a little bit of experience when I worked at HP in like 3D scanning devices, and that. I mean, so I've dabbled in it, but I've not really printed stuff myself. Um,
S- So where do you see it going, though? I mean, there's traditional 2D printing.
uh,
Now we're getting into this idea of 3D printing. Do they overlap? Are they just two separate paths? Or
yeah, they're very different machines, right?
Mhm.
So I think they're on separate paths, but like HP is definitely pursuing both paths aggressively, and I think it unlocks, you know, like imagine going to a hardware store, and Lowe's or Home Depot not having to stock, thousands of different types of parts. You just, put in an order, and you go pick it up there because they're building it there, right?
Yeah.
And then I know a lot of aircraft manufacturers are creating parts, and car manufacturers are going to create parts. And so then it just kind of wipes out the need to ship things for overseas, just build it on site. And I think it's definitely a future. It's definitely a big deal, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. There's a guy on YouTube, I want to say, yeah, that he creates these works, and he creates this he's got this package that he puts together basically where he sells these 3D representations of Dungeons and Dragons characters. And the whole thing is, they're sent out 3D printer ready. If you don't have a 3D printer, he's got like a package where you can buy one, like really small 3D printer. And basically, he's trying to make this new gaming community that has all the pieces printed at home. So he's got this entire package of, hey, buy my 3D printer, the models, and you can print them at home. And then if you need paint, if you want to paint them yourself, there's these paints you can buy. And I thought that was really, really innovative, because now I can buy a game, you know, um, the overhead of putting out a physical game is pretty big. You got to make all these pieces and everything. But now if I can just send the manufacturing out to the players, and like, well, these guys have an orc versus elf battle. They're going to be printing up a lot of orcs versus elves. I don't have to print them. I'll just leave it up to whoever's going to play. So there's a lot of weird things that are going on in that space. I really like it though.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that there's scanning devices that can like measure your foot and then build you a custom shoe out of a 3D printer, build houses, they bring a giant 3D printer on site, and they build it there. Yeah, it's definitely the future. I contracted somebody out a couple months ago to build something for me. I have a design that I've been thinking about making into a giant sculpture. And so I had to contract a designer to actually mock it up in 3D, and then hired a mechanical engineer to print it in 3D. Uh, and it's kind of a complicated design, so it cost me like $150 or so to print it.
Right.
But
So
mm,
go on. I mean, you're the
no,
process.
I need that. I need the 3D printed sample. It's about this big, and
Mhm.
I need it to go like sell the concept, because I want to create like a 12 or 15-foot sculpture out of it. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
filed a design patent on it.
Okay. I've seen the one you're talking about, unless you got others that I don't know about.
Oh, okay, yeah, I probably showed it to you.
Yeah, that's and that gets into a weird space too. There's a whole group of fabrication artists that I found out about a little while ago watching a documentary. This guy just wanted like, hey, I want this big hand holding a bottle of this and that. And all of a sudden we're in this world of fabrication artists who
Yeah,
try to go work with fiberglass and
yeah.
fiberglass metal structures.
I contacted one earlier this week in Burbank, um, to give me a quote, because see, my plan is to like before I can go like see if I can sell this sculpture to a sculpture park or a an organization or a museum or something. I have to know what it'll cost me to build, and I can't build it. So I contacted this Los Angeles fabrication company to give me a quote. And so I'm I'm meeting with them on Monday, so that to explain the concept. And they have this line item in there for the budget. What's your budget? And I'm like, I don't know, just whatever it takes to build really nice, because I'm not going to pay for it.
Right.
If I go to a if I go to an organization, I say I can build this 12-foot tall, but it's going to cost you this, and that cost is what cost me plus my profit, right? I mean,
Right.
it's
Right.
just typical business, right? So, but I'm getting into that fabrication world, or trying to understand it a little bit better.
So is that's your project, right? That's
Yeah,
not like something you're doing with work or anything.
it's mine.
Okay. Very cool. I wasn't quite sure on that. And
Yeah,
no, that's very cool. Um it's amazing seeing all these pieces of technology kind of coming together, moving, um, and changing the landscape in different ways. The 3D printing, just the proliferation of regular printing. It's funny, like you mentioned Epson. I was looking up how to get prints made, like these guys back here. I was just looking up how to get prints made, and they're like, "Hey, there's this big Epson printer you can just buy for yourself, basically, and get G-Clay quality prints." And I'm like, "Okay." Um, and it just started to blur the line between what I need a large group to do or a large outfit, and then just kind of stuff I can do at home by myself. So the
yeah,
what do you call it? Democratization, I guess, of a lot of these processes.
yeah.
Now it's amazing and fascinating to me, and I'm wondering what you think about like where all of this is going in terms of more stuff being in the artist's hands.
Um, well, yeah. I mean, if you know that you're going to produce a lot of certain kind of print on canvas or a certain kind of paper, it probably makes sense to do it yourself, because those print shop is going to charge a high premium typically. That definitely makes sense to maybe like do it yourself. But in terms of creativity and what people can do, I mean, man, all these apps coming out that can do all this crazy stuff. And, you know, I really wanted to learn how to do animations and 3D stuff. But you got to pay a little bit for a program, but the capabilities like of the Adobe suite, or these, I forget what they call these tools that a lot of the NFT digital artists are using to create animations and really cool
Mhm.
animations. I want to learn how to do that. And it's becoming easier and easier every year because they get more powerful, and it's just amazing. Like, and now you could take like photographs, and you can, within 20 seconds, you can colorize it on the internet and animate the old photo, you know? Have you seen those?
Um, I believe I know what you're talking about. It. Yeah, I think I saw a TikTok full of old animated um, photographs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, the tools are getting so much more powerful, and I guess you just have to specialize in one area. Like, what do you really want to get good at and learn how to do, right? Um, it's still my dream to do digital art and do some animations maybe one of these days, but um, I don't know. Right now, I'm still stuck in the physical painting world.
Well, I mean, we still live in a physical world, right?
Yeah,
If somebody has got a nice piece of art on their wall, that's going to matter to them quite a bit. So, like a lot of people are just passing around digital files and saying, "Hey, I own this," or "I can
yeah,
print that." This is one of my problems with NFTs as they currently are. You don't have a good way to showcase, and I think maybe the way to showcase is through like putting up a little website or using it as a profile image with the link to, the OpenSea directory or the Rarible directory or whatever. But it's early right now, and
are you saying showcase to sell it, or showcase your collection? So to display your collection.
either or. I was more talking about presenting to yourself or your friends or whoever comes
Mm,
over. It's like that art has a story, and I can in the physical world, I can bring it around and show people. And like when people come to my house, I have a stack of prints in a binder, large one of those
yeah,
18 by 24 kind of binders, and I just kind of whip it out and show some of my old prints or prints from other artists I've purchased, and it's a whole thing, right? It's a whole experience, and that's it's hard to get that online where it's like, hey, these are my prints or whatever, and you just kind of scroll through them, and someone's like, so
right.
this is I could go on Pinterest and see what are you trying to show me? It's not even a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people are trying to sell like these large LCDs that'll connect to your whatever device that can cycle through your whole collection of NFTs. But yeah, it's interesting to try and figure out where it's going. Um, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much. The world is just like evolving so fast in what people can do creatively, and I would think about, I always cringe when I see like this computer created this painting.
Yeah.
It's, and it's not digital. It's like kind of like this computer created this, or it'll look at a masterpiece painter, and they create a new painting in that style that is not related to that. I mean, that painter never painted that, but it's done exactly in that style, or the artificial intelligence can create up a new concept that man hasn't thought up yet. And then they say eventually, machines will be able to do art better than humans. And so what's the value of human created art at that point? And I guess it's just kind of like, handcrafted coffees. So, like
Right, right.
there should still be like, maybe it'll be even more appreciated in the future when somebody can say, I have a painting, but it was created by a real person.
Right. And you know what? That is actually kind of what I was touching on when I started the concept for the 8-bit cubist.
All right.
The in the cubist movement, they were, photography was becoming a big thing, and you were getting this era of people that could, uh, make drawings from photographs very quickly. It was just becoming a thing where it's like, look, we can represent the real world. We don't need artists anymore, and there was this kind of vibe going around.
Mm.
and then Picasso, Braque, and even leading on to some other movements, you started getting this non-representational kind of art that people hated in the beginning. So now I kind of see us moving into something new where like the people are having the arguments like that's a JPEG. Why would I even want to buy that?
Yeah.
I can
Right.
right click on it and copy it. What are you talking about? Pay $10,000 for it? That's stupid. So yeah, it's like, well, yeah, I could get an image of the Mona Lisa and go print it over at Kinko's and put it up in my house or whatever. I could
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. No, I do think I think I think the NFT artist should embed something in there that there's no way you can get by just right clicking and creating a picture. I mean, it may look the same, but there should be something in the digital piece that shows like you could prove I've got the original because look at this watermark or look at this, like I did on the painting I was telling you about where I put all those words in there.
Right, right.
Only the person that has the original NFT will be able to see those words.
Well, the
Now,
great thing,
doesn't
but
necessarily make it a higher quality, but it proves that that's the original.
yeah, then I think we're going to get to that pretty quickly where uh, you know um, just the whole verification and the online showcasing for galleries or online galleries or whatever. If you have this NFT and somebody goes to um, let's say Sotheby's or Christie's makes a website one day where it's like, hey, here are the NFT works of such and such, his collection. And when you click on it, it's like verified, you see
Yes.
whatever. Maybe you can get into the metaverse and slap on your VR headset or your AR goggles or whatever, and you can start seeing these things in a different way. Something's going to connect with the people at some point that requires a digital gallery of sorts
Yeah.
that verifies the pieces.
Yeah. I think eventually it's going to make total sense. People will understand why NFTs exist and the value it brings. But I can sort of see like for us people that do like physical paintings, like it's suddenly, it allows me to get involved in the resale market with royalties. And I could see how many times my painting has been sold by other people. And it gives any future buyer some confidence or lack of confidence in your art it creates a collectible market for your stuff.
Does it?
Participate, right?
No, totally. Um, do you think the 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 paper chase messes up the artistry a bit?
Mm, I don't know. Maybe. Um, Currently, maybe, but I've heard gallery owners get involved in this clubhouse NFT chat because they're saying like when they're selling expensive art now, some of the customers are saying I want an NFT attached to that for authenticity to prove
Mm.
that I own it. And then like a lot of the museums are, requiring NFTs for like the really expensive pieces because,
Who's requiring? I'm sorry.
well, I mean, I don't have exact proof or evidence, but I heard that like a lot of like museums are
Museums.
requiring like if you got a Picasso, you need to put an NFT attached to it because as it gets sold for hundreds of years, it proves that this was the original. And eventually like everything valuable by that artist was documented by an NFT. So if somebody tries to insert a fake somewhere along the chain,
Yeah,
you say, well, it didn't exist 200 years ago, so it's not real.
you're right. No, I get it. There was just a documentary on Netflix that I was watching. Um, Forgot the name of it, but basically, there's this whole art circle where everybody was collecting. I want to say Vermeers, uh, and they were trying to find out like, hey, where are these other paintings at? We should have this many. Well, they're in this gallery in this museum, and it was just the normal progressions of an art gallery, and art over time building up. And this one person shows up, and they're like, oh, I've worked with such and such. I was the assistant of this guy. And, we were doing all this art together. She was like, I know where the other pieces are. And they were like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, there's this guy in Italy who owns them. And it became this whole,
They trusted her, and she started putting fakes into the supply chain, right? The
exactly.
galleries. I saw that, or I saw part of, yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Fooled them all by, like, giving their trust and, introducing fakes, yeah.
yeah. So the idea of provenance and who you trust, it's like, well, this guy trusts me. It's like, okay, well, I won't put it up for sale or anything, but I will showcase it in the gallery. I'll put it up on the wall and we'll see what happens. And then she takes that story and it's like, well, hey, I've just shown in this gallery. It's, they're obviously, validating it. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess so. Okay, I'll pay, a price and we'll put it in the gallery or this and so forth. So you build this whole fake provenance
Yeah.
it was just so bizarre how this whole scam existed for all this time and just kept on snowballing.
Master heist, yeah. Yeah, so to that point, I mean, that's why I believe in NFTs. There's a lot of the concept is good. The whole thing though about how much energy it takes to mint an NFT currently, it bothered me a lot
Mm,
because it's using so much energy around the world for all this blockchain stuff. But I guess it's, generation two of the blockchain or these other methods are a lot more energy efficient. I'm speaking in terms of like the climate change,
right,
because
right.
it takes so much energy for computers to verify a single track transaction on the blockchain.
Yeah, I haven't checked stats recently, but yeah, the cost of NFT exchanges like far outweighs a lot of small countries. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's like
Actually,
this is one.
that's actually how I guess I learned about NFTs. I was following this guy on Twitter who kept talking about Bitcoin mining using computers. And I'm like, let me do that. I want to do that. I want to, he's making money Bitcoin mining and then I looked into it. Like you got to have, like, ideally you'd need to buy like $1,000 graphics card for your system to
Right.
run that many iterations.
Yeah.
So that and it got to the point, I think the people that were making the money are the ones that are building out these farms of, really expensive computers that are running nonstop. And how do you compete against them? Right.
Yeah.
I probably missed the boat on that one. And it's super energy intensive. And I don't like that.
Yeah. I personally believe that that problem will be fixed at least with I know Ethereum is working to fix that, and then there's uh the next version of Cardano. I think that's the one
Yeah.
that's gonna.
Yeah. 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 And I'm just pulling up something here on my computer. There was this, it's kind of complicated, but it's like the proof of stake blockchain
Mhm.
uses a lot of energy, but the proof of work, no, the proof of work blockchain uses a lot of energy. The
Yeah.
proof of stake blockchain does not. I don't,
Well,
I can't explain it, but that's
in short, the proof of work basically relies on the fact that you did this computational work. So, in order to prove that you are this blockchain is legit, this new block added to the chain is legit, and to verify all of that, it's going to go through a lot of computational work, and that work just kind of keeps on adding to itself, so it's more complicated every time. But it's like, well, hey, these set of computers actually went through all this work that kind of proves that it's the real thing because nobody else did all that work. It's like,
right.
okay, well, cool.
Okay.
The proof of stake is more along the lines of somehow they stamp this something with a record that says these 15 computers or whatever totally trust this other guy. So we're going to trust it because those computers have a stake in whether it's real or not.
Oh, interesting.
So there's like yeah, it's more complicated than I just explain there, but basically it's like these computers have a stake in something, they believe it,
Yes.
so we'll validate it. Um,
So that's the best explanation I've heard so far. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of crazy. There's so many different tokens and white papers. I was into that for a hot second, but it was taking kind of all of my time just to follow it, and I wasn't actively into it. So I was like, you know what? Let me step back for a second, keep my ear to the ground, but not be, jumping in the deep end of the pool of it because that's just
Yeah.
all of my time if I'm not going to be actively creating and you know interacting.
I just I just want to make some good art and post it as an NFT and have people go gaga and pay me a lot of money. Doesn't take much time, just
See,
I don't know.
you gotta have a crazy gimmick, and I do like the idea of zooming in and seeing all types of new work in your work. So
I think, well, nobody told me that. I just kind of thought that up. So maybe I can patent or copyright that idea. I don't know, but I'm
I don't know.
joking. But
Do you like the word do you like the word gimmick? And I was at a company and they used to use that word a lot, so it just kind of stuck with me. Um, Gimmick feels kind of dirty outside of that environment, but I just used it by habit.
no, it's I get what you mean. Like you got to have a way to I mean, it's marketing, right? You got to have a way to attract buyers and have buyers need confidence in you as a person and your work. They got to like your work. They got to think that others going to like the work. Um, and that's where, again, it gets so crazy. Like people are just drawing little frogs and then, because they do 100 of them and they limited edition them, like we're only going to sell 100 of these frogs, you know, why are they selling for hundreds of dollars?
Yeah, there was a slight look of disdain about that whole thing that I saw from you.
Yeah, I'm a little jaded. I'm a
It,
little bit, like, yeah.
it's dumb, so for sure. So some of the projects and the scams out there. I mean, there are legitimate like scams where people run up the uh the message boards. They'll be on Reddit, they'll be on Discord, and like, oh my gosh, I did this and this, and maybe not everyone is a bot, but with these new AI writing tools, they're just writing out short form copy that's basically, oh my gosh, these guys are awesome. I love it. I'm going to start an account now. I'm following.
Oh,
So
God.
it's it's insane how these communities are being built up um, by people in um, countries who have no business buying NFTs at this price, but we're selling them, and they're creating this huge swell of uh, just hype. And then
Yeah.
when people look at it, they're like, oh, wow, it's got all this hype. They'll have somebody buy, create an NFT, right? Um, Put it up for auction. Then they'll create another account, and that other account buys the NFT at a crazy high price, like $100,000, right? But it's the same person. So the money doesn't really change, and you lose a small percentage in the transaction fee, but you basically just put one a block of money into another wallet, and you're like,
But it gets that rich person that says, "Oh my gosh, this one's hot. This
yeah,
one's being bought. I'm going to
it,
get in on that action," and he buys it. Yeah,
it's hot, it's selling. There's been a lot of transactions, a lot of people are buying, it keeps building up, and then it sells for like, you know 200,000, let's say, to an actual buyer, an actual person who's interested in it buys it for 200,000, and there's only one person who created it initially for like $1,000. So
yeah,
he just that's the scam or one of them,
yeah,
and there are quite a few of them, and eBay put a stop to that,
yeah,
or tried to at least.
yeah. Well, I mean, it goes on in the big auction houses too, right?
Hmm.
People that own Picasso have a vested interest to make sure the next Picasso sells at a really high price. So I've heard of these little deals going on where, like, hey, bid it up to 5 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, anybody listening, there's this whole the dirty art game, um,
yeah,
where people have bought, I mean, entire They've created an entire gallery just for the sole purpose of putting in a high bid on a piece of art so that a bunch of other people will say, "Oh, these other galleries have, paid money to bid on this piece of artwork. We should bid too." And it's like, yeah,
Scammers get smarter and smarter. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you, I guess that's the value of a community then maybe is if you're actually talking to real people that, you know, that are collectors and if it's a collaboration of a lot of people, right?
mhm.
Maybe that helps weed out the scams. I don't know.
No, I definitely think it does. The Hot Wheels community is an interesting group of characters, and they all kind of know each other. They go around to these little Hot Wheels conventions, and they're saying like, "Hey, this guy, he's buying up all the yellow trucks." I don't know, you know. And it's like when he shows up, it's like, "Hey, I got a yellow truck here." It's like, "Nah, I got that one already, but this one's in mint condition." And it's really bizarre, but it's a small community. They all keep in contact. They all know each other. So it's I want to see how this plays out in I was about to say real life, but NFTs are kind of this whole digital life. So um
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. That's
so
that's hilarious about the Hot Wheels community though.
yeah, I actually think that Facebook is going to make moves in this direction at some point, and they've really been trying to create an ID with their whole Facebook ID thing, you know, where you've got where that that's a person behind it, and they're trying to weed out bots and all of the other stuff. So now, if I have my Facebook ID or some other type of ID, um, I can say, "Oh, these are real people." The idea of it being a bot is a lot less likely, and I think that plays into their whole metaverse concept.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to do that. I mean, the whole Facebook social scene is getting just it's unhealthy, it's ugly, it's frustrating. It's I mean, but it I mean, I still log in all the time to check things, right? I'm
Yeah.
still what I don't know, I'm addicted to it. I don't know. I mean, I but it's my main source of following family and
Mhm.
friends and but then I get pulled into a lot of political arguments, which I'm very guilty of being part of that scene. But I've calmed down, but I felt very manipulated by the whole thing as well, right?
Mm,
And I can just tell there's so many people that are manipulated by the content.
yeah.
People just have lost their minds, and I don't know. It's just
When did you realize that?
what
That, there was like a feeling of manipulation. It something didn't feel quite natural, on the Facebook scene? Because you had some things to say about, like, this is big when we were talking about
uh,
the whistleblower action that just happened
yeah. I
recently.
mean, I mean, I don't know what if it was there one particular time, but I've just seen to me, it seems like so many Americans just don't know how to use logic anymore and have been somehow brainwashed by their little bubbles. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just Facebook, right? It's all the proliferation of media, right? You go to the news site that you sort of believe is your worldview, right? And then it just reinforces your worldview. And
Good.
we all become so separated in our worldviews that we all think each other's crazy. But, it got so bad in the last number of years where people were just believing things that I like made no sense. Like you wouldn't have believed that a decade ago. Why do you believe it now?
Because I'm on team, Media Tribe X, that's why. You know?
Yeah, but it just makes no sense. Like even if evidence is shown to you that it makes no sense, they just keep like coming up with new reasons to why this is true. And I'm just like, I'm like, oh my God, I think there's like professional psychologists that are or brainwashers out there that are brainwashing us all to get our money or whatever. to get us to vote a certain way. So I don't know if there was a one particular event that happened, but and Facebook is part of the problem. I think this new whistleblower, right? Wow, she was so articulate and so informed and so opinionated and so believable, right?
Hmm.
That it's just bound to change so many people's impression of Facebook. And, I too thought like Mark Zuckerberg seems like an honest guy. He tells a good story,
Right.
says he's trying to do the best he can. Maybe it's really difficult. But then when you listen to her, it's like, no, they're doing everything for profit. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's profit first.
So that I definitely believe. I'm totally on the. I agree with a lot of the sentiment that there's a lot of manipulation, doing stuff for profit. What concerns me though is that it's not like Facebook, I think, is doing better than a lot of these other platforms are.
Yeah.
Um, I remember they were fighting against the like people wanted the dislike button. They were yelling about I need a dislike button, I hate this and da 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 da. And it's like, all right, I don't know if you want a dislike button, just
Right.
makes people really feel bad when you post something and there's a bunch of dislikes on it.
Right.
Um, People remember the YouTube comments. They were terrible. Well, they still are.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know that YouTube's done much to stop that.
Yeah.
Uh, Instagram has a ton of bots with forex traders, and we're mentioning NFTs here. I guarantee there's going to be a bunch of NFT clowns in the comments later. But
No.
so I don't know who's doing as much as they can. I think there's a bit of it's gotten out of control, even for these companies.
So my kids, like all teenagers, they didn't care so much for Facebook, and it was like sort of the older generation.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I like Facebook because it has history. I can go back and find pictures. I can go back and find conversations. And my kids were always like, why do you need to see that stuff again? And why do you need to have so many words? So they're all about Instagram and
Right, right.
Snapchat. And now I'm sort of appreciating that point of view because it goes back to this whole thing of why, text. Why do we need, you know, maybe it is unhealthy to have historical records of text conversations where we never understood each other to begin with. Because no, I mean, like,
No,
if I type something out,
yeah,
people are going
yeah,
to misunderstand it,
right.
and I misunderstand what they say. And so that's going back to the value of Clubhouse, where it's just temporary and it's just people just talking, and you can hear their tone of voice. If you're a jackass on the stage, they're going to boot you off the stage, and the moderator gets it back under control and say, hey, we need to respect everybody's rights here. It's like a real conversation.
Yeah,
But a text conversation is like some sort of like strange debate world where you look at it and you steam about this, what they're saying, like, what the hell do they mean? And like, then you go walk around the house for a while, what am I going to type back? What am I going to say to them? And then you try to throw spears at them, and that's the political conversations I'm talking about. But you know,
yeah,
I
yeah. I totally get it, man. But yeah, I was just it's phenomenal to me how this stuff has transpired, and I've had like if you see my Facebook post, my standard ones, it's just a short little description with an icon. I
yeah,
intentionally did that because at some point I was posting links and then I'd have commentary on the links,
mm,
but it became a thing of, well, you posted that from Washington Post. And I was like, well, that's kind of a good point here. I don't care where it came from so much, and then somebody would post something from, well, here's a better article. And we started arguing headlines and media sources. And
yeah,
yeah, it became a crazy thing. So I started realizing it then, and then it really cemented for me how crazy everything was during the great Star Wars fan base debacle of 2018 or so. Uh, which I was very much a part of. You know, between the Last Jedi, The Force Awakens, and the whole sequel trilogy, feeding into all of that, I had to really step back and say, okay, what am I doing? What's happening here? What kind of future are we building?
Yeah.
And I didn't have any good answers. Like, um, how do we control all of this stuff? Or, you know, I think we need training, personally, like, we just need training on how to communicate over social media. But like, as far as tools go, like,
Yeah.
Facebook, what do they do? I mean, I don't know that we have clean answers yet that that people will accept.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird world. What is it doing to our brains when we have all these kind of relationships like that, where we're, you know, there's a lot of judging of each other and a lot of, one upping, and like everybody's trying to post their most attractive picture. And then people, you sort of feel the young girls feel jealous about the beauty of another young girl or the popularity. I mean, yeah, I don't know the answer either, but
Yeah.
it's weird. It's unsettling, right? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I saw what it was doing to me too, and my wife saw it too. And like she said, you got to step away from that stuff. Like, stop getting on there.
Yeah.
And so,
Do you have a favorite and a least favorite platform?
well, so I was mentioning Clubhouse. I was saying good things about Clubhouse, but
Hmm.
that's frustrating too, because I can never find interesting rooms. I subscribe to all these clubs of things that I'm interested in, but I never see their stuff pop up. I just keep seeing junk clubs that I'm not interested in and topics that I'm not interested in. I can never find a room that I'm interested in. So I think Clubhouse has a lot of op- potential to be my favorite.
Okay.
I like Twitter. I like Twitter for like news and opinions of, breaking, like real time opinions of people that that I sort of follow or respect, um, that have something to say. So it helps me, like, what's the bottom line, right? When you hear like these people that like, news people or politicians or whatever,
Yeah.
or celebrities, you just, what's their point of view? They're just posting so you sort of understand. Anyway, I like Twitter. Um, Facebook has its place for me for photos and keeping up with the family.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know whether I really use anything else.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the one with all the videos? TikTok, right?
Right. Right.
That's addicting just because, I mean, there's so much entertaining videos there.
Yeah.
I could like flip through TikTok, for an hour and waste an hour of time. Just, oh, that's cool. Let me see the next one.
It's pretty amazing that way. And yeah, yeah. I don't. Okay. So where does Instagram stack up? Let me ask that.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know what I get out of Instagram or what I put into I don't know what I'm getting out of it. It's just a
Okay.
place to put pictures of art for me.
Yeah. I totally get it. It was actually my least favorite platform until I started doing the IG lives.
Mm,
Um, I felt that the whole show and tell vibe of it without much conversation was kind of damaging. Um, like, I'd post something and it didn't get many likes, and then I got frustrated. I would delete the post, try to find the right time to post it, make a new caption, new hashtags, and then post it again. And I'm like, okay, well, that time it got like 50% more likes. So, okay. And it became this game of, hey, do you like me kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, and I wasn't vibing with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but at some point, between doing things on Facebook, doing streams on Facebook, I mean, and doing streams on what do you call it? Twitch. ended up trying Instagram Live, and genuine people genuinely joined in and were like, "Hey, what's going on? What you talking about?" And it reminded me of me just being around doing something, or maybe like at an art show where people come by and like, "Hey, I hear you're doing something. What's going on? What's that about?" And I just got that feeling of like, oh, hey, how are you doing? You know, how are things? In fact, that's you popped in the one live that I was doing.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw your live and I didn't know whether I mean, I sort of wanted to join the conversation, but I didn't want to interrupt what you were doing. And I'm like, is it polite to like request to join this conversation? Or
yeah,
I didn't know what to do. Right. So but finally I'm like, oh, I just want to try it.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, that's cool. I could see the value in Instagram live. It's actually pretty cool. But it's like, but like if somebody else wanted to join right now, could you do three? Or is it
I
just
believe I haven't actually done it here, but you can get up to 4 people, and
oh
I forget how they run their restrictions on who can and who can't do it. It may be a certain viewer count or a certain history of doing lives. I don't know. But some people just have the option and other people don't. So
so this conversation that we've had for the last hour, whatever it was, I mean, I've gotten so much more out of this because it's a face to face live conversation than typing, reading something and typing something in, back and forth, back and forth.
yeah,
I mean, I think maybe humans just aren't meant for typing conversations.
that's a very valid point. You know, as a game developer, a lot of times we try to, depending on the situation, we'll
Right.
try to reduce the friction of connecting to this person, or if something is, should we put something on screen, or should we make the actual character, animate and emote or whatever? And we find extremely different um, responses to certain things. So I don't know if you remember the game Doom. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Doom. One of the major things they added was the little face at the bottom
Mm,
that kind of showed your health status. Like every time you were getting hit, he grimace and
mm,
it started bleeding out the nose and eyes or whatever, and just as he got beat up. So that was actually a relatively late addition, they said, to, they really wanted to make it a lot more intense, and they were playing around with ideas, and they're like, well, let's bring the face idea back and add a lot more to it.
yeah.
So, doing a lot more with that face, being that you're a faceless character, it just gave me so much more
Uh,
like, oh wow, I'm getting shot at. Look at the
yeah.
little face. It's grimacing.
Yeah.
It so
Think like these the little UX things that people come up with to get our brains to engage. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing of Facebook, of what do they call it? The chemical that's released, the pheromones, whatever it is, but they're just showing you something that gets you to share it, to get other people to get a like or get a click or whatever.
yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah, it's
guess, I guess, I guess I should just like, I'm on the edge of just wanting to delete Facebook, but then if I do, it's like this fear of missing out. Like, oh, then I'm just like putting a wall up between everybody I know. It's hard to walk away from Facebook, even though it's crap. It's like it's damaging us.
I think that it takes a fair bit of thinking about what you're doing and training on it. Um, I'm actually writing I want to call it a small book, an essay or whatever you want to call it, on ways to deal with Facebook. And, over time, I've just gone through every one of the little problems I've had with Facebook and figuring out ways that I can personally fix it. Um, and that got me into starting groups, that got me into doing lives on Facebook, that got me into considering how I pose questions and how I formatted things. It changed just really studying and thinking about it. Because I was really early on with Facebook. So I was me, uh, Jeff, a couple others. We were just on there playing games basically, and um, sharing sharing information about like work, because we were a bunch of people at work and kind of shared information there. But we were so early that we saw it in its purest form, and then it as it started to grow into something crazy, it was like, well, whoa, that's not the classic Facebook we remember.
Mm,
So
yeah,
I want to try to take that and build um, a set of guidelines or something, just a way to think about it. I don't know. Hopefully
yeah,
that'll help some people out. But yeah, it's definitely a weird thing. Definitely something we gotta look out for, not just on Facebook, but all the platforms, right?
yeah, agree. Yeah, no, you're very methodical about these things, way more than I am. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. It's caused me a lot of problems in the past being that methodical on things, but I roll with it. So
Cool, cool.
so we're let me ask you, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on and cover? I'm going over my notes here. I think we hit most of it.
Um, no, I mean, I enjoy this kind of conversation. I again, like, this is pretty cool that maybe it gets me back thinking about Instagram as a platform. And I think it's cool what you're doing of reaching out and having these conversations. And um, I learned from it. I'm going to start tuning in more. It's way more interesting. I'm so glad I cut the cable TV cord like 15 years ago.
Oh, yes.
That's, like the junk that you can get, it's that's such a time waster of junk. But yeah, no, this helps me understand, understand you better and understand these topics because I don't talk about these topics hardly ever with anybody else. But yeah, Instagram Live is pretty cool.
Definitely, definitely. When I do you know what? When I do um, a four-person, get four people in here talking, I know it's going to be myself, and some other person I had in mind. Um, I'll throw out the invite to you to get roped into that little
Yeah,
discussion on just because the
yeah,
first discussion I want to do with multiple people will be about discussing things online. So,
very cool. Yeah, I'll be glad to be part of that.
all right.